Today we're going to be talking about the September's job data that came out today. We're going to be talking a bit about Minister Joly and the announcement she made this week. And we're also going to be talking about a new kind of mortgage that is available in Canada and the risks around it. Before I get into the jobs data for September, I want to thank all of you who not only watched last month, but everybody who commented, because it really became a place where we could engage and shoot ideas around and discuss things. And that is the purpose of this, is not to be, I am this camp, you are this camp, but rather for Canadians to start talking to each other, not all capsing each other. So sincerely, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, and getting into that discussion with me. Now into this month's jobs data that released today. It's for September, and the headline is going to be that unemployment stayed the same. Unemployment stayed the same, 106,000 new full-time jobs, a net of 60,000 jobs. And the Liberals are going to take this as a huge win, because this is, if things aren't getting worse, tariffs aren't affecting us. Poilievre says that things are falling apart. Canada is broken. It isn't. Look at the numbers. But the numbers aren't telling the whole story when you look at just those little bits. So first and foremost, yes, a net of 60,000 permanent full-time jobs were made in September. That is fantastic. Aside from the fact that 30,700 of them were government jobs. We went through this last year where the government is slowly becoming the largest employer in Canada. That doesn't really benefit everybody because our taxpayer dollars are paying for those jobs. We're going to get back to that though. Right now, I want to talk about something that I mentioned apparently too quickly in last month's because of the comments that I got. But it continued this month, the trend. Men are losing jobs faster than women. Men between the ages of 25 and 54, 9.4% rise year over year in job losses. The second highest. The first highest was men over the age of 55 at 14% year over year. Now, last month I did say because women make less. And maybe my wording wasn't perfect. But when you look at a household and the dynamics of the majority of households, those men are usually the breadwinners. Very rarely is there a household where there is a woman who is a breadwinner. Part of that is because women make less. Part of them making less is the jobs that they choose. But this is a dangerous statistic that men 25 to 54 are losing their jobs faster, and 55 plus. Now, some younger people will say 55 plus, they can retire. That's not my problem. Boomers, which they are not, by the way, they're Gen X. We now know that the majority of people go into their retirement with a mortgage. 55 can be a parent of anything from a 5-year-old to a 25 or 30-year-old. These are men who are still working, who still count on that income, who largely support families, especially in that 55 and up zone. So losing them at such a high rate is really dangerous for the entire economy. You know, women working is their choice for the most part. And that seems to be changing as well, which changes entire dynamics of households and spending. The number of women between 25 and 54 went up who were employed. And it has been. And the government uses that as a metric that, look at how great we're doing. Generally speaking, If a woman is over the age of 40 and she has chosen to not be part of the workforce, that is her choice. And her joining the workforce is not the win it appears to be on paper. It's out of necessity. So I am an old school feminist where I believe in a woman's right to choose to stay at home or choose to work. But the government is changing that in that there is no choice available anymore. And if your husband has lost his job, there really isn't a choice. And that job may still not pay the bills. New women joining the workforce aren't joining the workforce at the upper echelons. They aren't coming into a VP job because of their education. They're starting at the bottom. This is a huge issue for Canadian families, not just today, but into the future. Because while we want to see the world as even and balanced and all of that wonderful stuff, it isn't. And when men lose jobs, families hurt, kids hurt, financially. There is less food on the table. There are less extracurriculars. There is less everything. Because again, men are usually the breadwinners. So we aren't going to hear about that in the news today with these numbers. We're going to hear about women's economic use in the labor force. How much higher they're climbing. Really doesn't help though, does it? If that wife can get a job that pays $40,000 a year, that's better than nothing, but it does not replace this $120,000. And that's where the difference is, and that's the nuance that none of these numbers pick up on. Back to what I was talking about before, about 30,000 of those 60,000 full-time jobs were government jobs. Minister Joly came out this week and said that their plan to deal with tariffs and the economy and all of that is to spend more. The government's spending more in Canada, from buying Canadian steel, buying Canadian-made cars, partially Canadian-made cars, I guess. And, of course, their infrastructure projects. Sounds great. Sounds wonderful. Where are those tax dollars coming from? Because here's the thing. They cannot spend to keep Canada going and keep people employed when we're already in massive debt. And there is the debt and there is the deficit. And the deficit is how much they cannot cover our monthly operating costs. And the debt is how much all of that deficit adds up to. So where is the money coming from to literally pay Canadians to work, to then take it back in taxes and ensure a future where taxes have to get even higher? That doesn't work. And why would private investment say, yes, I'm going to give $1 billion to this project? Yes, at that tax rate, that corporate tax rate, WSIB rates, I am 100% investing in Canada. Why would they do that? That's their plan, the Liberals' plan. We're going to have to see if it comes to fruition, though. Now, on to the new mortgages. There's a new mortgage being rolled out in Canada. It is called the Home Equity Sharing Agreement. So basically, you don't have to have proof of income. You don't have to ever pay it back in cash. It is signing away 25 to 40% of the future earnings of your home to a company for X number of dollars today based on your home equity. If you have a mortgage, if you have a line of credit, if you have a mortgage, a line of credit, and a car tied into your house, it doesn't matter. And that sounds amazing, especially in these economic times, right? Massive unemployment, trouble paying the mortgage bills, defaults through the roof. This can keep the lights on. And that sounds incredible. Over 5 years, it works out to about 20% interest. It's basically a payday loan out of your home. It is more predatory than third-party financing is. It costs more. I can also guarantee that it is about to become incredibly popular because we are in hard economic times. And in these times, of course, keeping your home, your largest asset, is the most important thing to you. So a HESA works out wonderfully. And these people who are introducing it are going to make millions upon millions upon millions off of Canadians' backs. Because as you pay your mortgage, every penny you pay down, you're paying them 25 to 40% of your future sale price. I can't say whether I would say that this is a bad product, because security for your family, security for yourself, a roof over your head, all of that equity you have decided to put into your home, not just financial, but sweat equity. It is not just four walls, it is a home. As we have banks refusing more people, as we have unemployment going up, is it a bad product? It probably isn't today. But there are huge risks, and some people are going to get incredibly rich off of others' pain. So I don't know if those who supply it are really of the highest morals, but I do support people doing whatever they need to stay in their homes. I hope that this taught you a few things, worked some things out. I would love it to hear your thoughts in the comments, as long as we can all stay respectful. And I really hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend.